Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we're taking a look at chapter 42 of Kaiju number 8, and this will be a spoiler-free review because the chapter just came out, and oh my goodness, this chapter, this creator, Matsumoto, chef's kiss. Okay. This is a spoiler-free review, but if you still don't want to hear it, I'll give you a chance now to click away, go check out the links below the video for my book, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data. It a pale and paltry offering compared to this masterpiece, but if you want to, you can go check that out. All right, now, spoiler-free review and analysis of chapter 42. This chapter, I don't know quite how to describe it. It's not as hype as some of the other battle scenes. It is doing mostly character development, world building, and positioning for the plot to go forward. This does have what is perhaps to me the biggest plot twist that I've seen coming. Maybe it's because I had some misapprehensions about what various characters knew, but to me there really was a plot twist in here that took me off guard more than any other plot twist has so far in this series. This is a very, very predictable shonen series. We know where it started, we know where it's going, for the most part, but this was a really big corkscrew twist. It won't affect the overall trajectory of the plot, but it's definitely taking us down a side road that I did not see coming. So this chapter really gets into how each character perceives the situation, and it's done beautifully. We see these characters, they're just bouncing off each other, interacting with each other, and each character's reaction is logical. And Matsumoto is just brilliant at using what you know already and what you assume to show you things in the proper order. So we are introduced to a couple characters in more depth now than we were before. So there's characters that we've seen before, just briefly, and now we're getting to know their personalities. And Matsumoto is able to thoroughly develop these characters' personalities by having very short scenes, just a few panels, and yet we learn so much about these characters just by how they react to a character we already have established. So the chapters and the 40 chapters of development that we've had for the main characters that we know and love is really paying off here, because just by we know how we would react to these characters, and by watching a new character react to them from the new character's reaction, we now know so much more about that new character. So I don't want to give away any spoilers. It's obvious from the last chapter that we'd still be with the main two, Kafka and Kikoru. And so I don't think it's any surprise to say that watching the other members of the First Division interact with Kafka and Kikoru tells us a lot more about their characters. And as I was discussing with some of the other YouTubers, this battle is going to define how the First Division interacts with Kafka, which is also going to define a lot how not only the rest of the Defense Force interacts with Kafka and feels about Kafka, but how the general population feels about Kafka. And so how Kafka performed here is really going to define Kaiju number 8, Kafka's relationship with the rest of the world. Because the Third Division is the division that the Defense Force is proud of, the one they put up on the billboards. The First Division is the problem child, the division that the population pays attention to whether or not the Defense Force likes it or not. Captain Narumi is a showboat. The population is just extremely aware of him. We've had that driven in the past few chapters. And he is a problem child. He is arrogant, and he's a train wreck. And if you know anything about human beings, you know we love watching train wrecks like Narumi. And I've had some interesting conversations with other people thinking that, well, maybe Narumi is going to be the character with the super tragic backstory in this character group, because a lot of his behavioral flaws, those are the behavioral issues that have come from having everything taken from you. The hoarding, the disrespect for authority figures, suggesting that he didn't have a father in his life, the extreme skill matched with extreme disgust for order. A lot could speak to Captain Narumi's tragic backstory, but we don't know that at this point. But we do see something very interesting. Captain Narumi is a very tactical fighter. Despite his lack of due diligence and conscientiousness in his day-to-day life, he's not just a brawler. He's not just someone who goes in and starts punching. You see him really analyzing the situation. And you see that he was making certain assumptions, and you see which of those assumptions are fulfilled and which of his assumptions were subverted. And through this, you get a kind of a feel for how the Defense Force is reacting. And there's just these beautiful, beautiful little details that I won't go into for spoilers' sakes, but oh my goodness, I just want to describe this one panel. There's this one panel where Kakoru steps forward and she's about to do something and engage with the situation. And it wasn't what I would call a hype panel, but it was emotionally and viscerally satisfying on an exciting level that was like hype but wasn't quite hype, because ultimately you know that nothing new is going to happen in the next panel, but still you feel excited and satisfied, and there's I think the word is glorious. Like when you step outside, have you ever stepped outside during a thunderstorm? And you step outside and you feel the tension building up, and when you hear the rumble and the crack of the lightning and the flash, it is this sensation, and you know exactly what's going to happen next. You've seen this before. But when Kakoru steps out, and it's a transition scene going from one moment to the next, you really get that thunderclap sensation, that emotional satisfaction you get. You knew what was going to happen, and you're seeing it happen. And it's not something that happens all the time, but it is still a common thing. And it was just glorious. And I swear, I just keep going back and looking at that panel to experience that emotion over again. She is magnificent, and the panel and the sensations are just glorious. And there's so much relationship building going on here. Even though Kafka does not directly interact with pretty much any other character than just one in this scene, you can see how everybody's, of course, watching him. We knew that from the beginning. And the perspective, you get a lot more panels than usual in this, a lot fewer of those big page spreads. And that's partially because the perspective of the reader is shifting back and forth between all of the combatants and various other bigwigs back watching from the command base. And you get to see, you get these up-close looks at faces that tell you how people are reacting to the information flowing back and forth. And as I said, this chapter was going to define Kafka's relationship with the rest of the First Division, therefore the rest of the Defense Force, therefore the general population. And I think I know where where that relationship development is going now, where I really had no clue before this chapter. So I think it's firmly established, but I won't go into how I think it was established, because that would be going too far into spoiler territories. But the way the artists Matsumoto and the storytellers are developing these relationships, it really is a masterclass in show, don't tell. Not one person is talking about their emotions or even referencing how they think or their opinions, but from their body language, from the looks on their faces, from those telltale eyes, you can really get a hint of what's going on in their heads. And it's really next chapter, we're really going to see the revelation of the internal characters of a lot of these people. And, oh, I just realized something. One of my assumptions, based off the way the panels were set up in the last chapter, was very, very wrong. And again, I won't go into that because it's a spoiler thing. It might be a mild spoiler, but I'll avoid it. But I'll just say that my assumptions, based on how the panels presented the image, were wrong about the setup, and therefore a bit of my analysis was off base for the last couple of videos. But I'll go into the full spoiler section. But it's very interesting how we can look at something and be wrong, but I think that was not deliberate. that was not a deliberate attempt to create a plot twist on the creator's part. It's just the limitations of the medium of simple lined art, because there's just only so many details you can put into these panels. So, one major plot twist, a lot of interrelational character development, some significant world building, and then there was just my favorite part of this chapter. I wish I'd just started the review off with this. The dedication to scientific accuracy on the part of the creator is magnificent. The way the kaiju are acting and interacting and interreacting is so scientifically accurate. The only thing that is wrong scientifically is, of course, the size, because of the square cube law. You can't get ants or grasshoppers that big in real life, but oh my goodness, they've got a hand-wavy explanation for this in this world. And oh my goodness, the panel, there's this one panel where a character steps onto the scene, and my ecologist little heart went, yay, look at it, it's so accurate. That could be a line art sketch of various ecological photographs that I've looked at and analyzed, that I've taken for myself even. And oh my goodness, I can't wait. I'm going to get so many videos out of this chapter. Oh my goodness, just this chapter alone. Okay, but good science, Matsumoto. Matsumoto cannot possibly have this broad of a scientific background necessary, so Matsumoto has said some awesome scientific, and I would not be surprised if the 2-week upload schedule was that so Matsumoto could double check his science with his advisors. And so that is my analysis for Kaiju number 8, chapter 42. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't go too crazy on you. Check out the links below the video if you'd like another scientifically accurate science fiction story. Humans Are Weird. I Have the Data, a book of human absurdity, available on Amazon, Audible, pretty much wherever books, ebooks, or audiobooks are sold. Check out the links below the video, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
The book from author Betty Adams, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, is a humorous look at human behavior through the eyes of aliens. This book is arranged in separate reports or essays, documenting the experiences with humanity through the lens of the aliens who have to interact with them. This anthology of short stories and vignettes from alien points of view highlights some of humanity's quirks we can all relate to. Author Betty Adams captures how strange and interesting humans can really be. This is a fun collection of stories you will really get a kick out of. Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, from author Betty Adams. Order your copy right now on Amazon.